On my channel, I like to delve into topics revolving around me essentially coming up with and sharing a plethora of fan-made ideas related to the Pokemon world. I make videos about hypothetical Pokemon regions that could be made out of real-life countries and areas. I've made an evil team that I lead in the form of Team Buddy, #Bayhive, send all of those to me on Twitter, and all of this stuff links together in a giant shared universe I'm calling the Buddyverse. Now for today's video, I'm going to be creating another lengthy adventure that ties into said Buddyverse, although it's going to be somewhat different from all the past videos I've made. Rather than making a hypothetical Pokemon region or crafting another story for Team Buddy, I'm instead going to be detailing a Pokemon game idea I've had for a long time. While I'd say that most of the big videos I've made on my channel are all about sharing ideas I've had for possible Pokemon games, the one I'll be detailing in today's video is kind of special because for all intents and purposes, I like to think of this idea as my dream Pokemon game. I've been working on the design of this dream game for a couple years now, and I've come up with a lot of detailed ideas relating to the mechanics, events, Pokemon lists, routes, battles, characters, and stories that would be in this hypothetical game. Unfortunately, I don't have the skill to make an actual Pokemon fan game you guys could play, but I can write and edit a video, so that's how I'll be sharing my game idea with all of you today. I hope you're ready, because this video is going to push the limits of how fanfiction-y I can be. Take this as a warning that what you're about to watch is definitely going to embrace its fanfiction-y side, but as I always say, I wouldn't have it any other way for my videos. Buckle in, because I think it's time we get this video started and I share with you guys one of, if not my favorite, concept I have for a Pokemon game. Alright, to kick things off, I wanted to go through a general overview of this hypothetical game structure and general premise. I took some pretty big, and dare I say crazy, creative liberties with this game and some of its main mechanics, and I feel like I should break it all down right at the start so the rest of the video isn't too confusing. After I go over the core idea and some of the things I was inspired by for it, I'll then go through a rundown of the game and its story, including how your adventure would unfold moment to moment. Okay, so the general idea of this game is that it would be a semi-sequel slash spin-off to Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It would be set 6 months after the events of the games happened, but it wouldn't take place in Alola. Instead, and this is where the crazy part kicks in, it would revolve around you, the player, being a new recruit of the Ultra Megalopolis' Ultra Recon Squad, and traveling to different dimensions to save them from Ultra Beast threats. Now that's the core idea of my dream Pokemon game, and I'll be the first to admit that this is pretty crazy, even for me. I know some people might be turned away by the sheer insanity of this idea, but before you bail out of the video, I wanted to say that though my game concept may sound very out there and unlike Pokemon, I still tried hard to make it fit into the Pokemon world and play pretty close to a normal Pokemon game. There are a lot of differences and changes I've made with this game structure compared to the official games, such as there not being a Pokemon League to conquer, the game focusing heavily on the idea of traveling between different dimensions, but alongside all these alterations, I made sure to include a bunch of things we've all come to expect from a standard Pokemon game. You still receive a starter Pokemon you take with you on your adventure. You get to catch, battle, and train Pokemon you find in the many dimensions. There's a few evil teams you get to battle. Your Pokemon help you overcome obstacles in the overworld, and many other mainstay ideas from the official games are included in my hypothetical game. I know it's gonna take some work to sell you guys on this idea, and trust me, I have a lot more to break down regarding the general concept. But before I go through more details about it, I wanted to address how I even came up with this idea, and why I like it so much that I consider it my dream Pokemon game. So for as long as I can remember, I've always loved the idea of alternate realities, different dimensions, parallel universes, and all things of that nature. I'm not really sure why I like the concept so much, but I just find it so fascinating and cool to see alternate versions of established stories and characters. The idea that you can take a universe and characters you know and love and see them in such different ways, or them with alternate histories, is something I've always found engaging and just, oh man! I just think the entire idea is so cool! Now tying this all back to Pokemon and my Ultra Recon Squad game idea, as soon as Generation 7 came out and it was revealed that different dimensions are indeed canon in Pokemon, I knew I wanted to express my love for alternate universes with some kind of hypothetical Pokemon game built around them. After brainstorming many ideas, some of which are way too weird to explain, I eventually decided on the narrative I talked about earlier, where you're a new recruit in the Ultra Recon Squad and travel between dimensions saving people from powerful Ultra Beasts attacking their worlds. Now I promised I'd break down this idea a little bit more, so let's go through some of the main parts of it, shall we? Okay, so as I've said numerous times already, one of the big aspects of this game is that over the course of its story, you'll be jumping between a handful of parallel universes. Instead of having one giant region you get to explore, there are over 5 different dimensions of various sizes you can warp between. Each one of them is themed around a different official Pokemon region, albeit an alternate version of the region that has some kind of twist compared to the official ones, and all of them have numerous areas, routes, and towns you get to explore. While each dimension doesn't have an entire region to traverse, there's still a pretty good selection of familiar, although new-feeling places you can adventure through that give you a picture of what the dimension is like at large. Now, what exactly do you do in these alternate worlds, you may be wondering? Well, your main goal in each dimension is that you're trying to find and defeat an Ultra Beast that has fallen into the world and is wreaking havoc. There's one, sometimes 2 Ultra Beast invaders in each world you have to track down, and they're kind of like this game's replacement for gym leaders in a way. They're the obstacle you're training up to confront in each dimension, and you have to find and deal with them before you can move on through the game and travel to the next parallel universe. If you're worried that searching for Ultra Beasts is maybe a little bit too one-note for you and you want more to do, then you're in luck. I took a lot of time when creating the dimensions in this game to make sure that each one felt like a fully developed world that has its own story, problems, and lore you can get invested in. Your main goal in each dimension is still to hunt down a UB, but you'll often find that each world you visit has a lot of other things going on, and you can explore and take part in the events happening in the many parallel worlds I've created. Okay, there's a lot more ideas I want to share with you guys, but I think it'll be better if we get into the actual story overview for my dream game now. And as I go through it, I can detail everything more extensively. Without further ado, this is the hypothetical story that would be present in my dream Pokemon game. As I stated earlier, the story of this game takes place 6 months after the events of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and in many ways, I consider this idea to be a semi-sequel, almost more like a spin-off to the events that happened in them. If you haven't played Ultra all the way through, you might be a little confused as to what's happening in the beginning of the story, what with your character being a resident of a parallel universe, but I'll try my best to give as much context as I can for everything so the story won't be too confusing. Alright, getting into the actual narrative now, the game begins with you waking up in your room. It's a beautiful day in the Ultra Megalopolis, and you and your mother live in a tall apartment building in the heart of the city. You've lived here practically your whole life, and all things considered, are a pretty normal resident of this massive otherworldly metropolis. You get out of your futuristic sleeping chamber and can explore your room and find all sorts of normal things people in this dimension have. A TV-like device constructed from high-tech crystals is in the middle of the room with a brand new Ultra Nintendo game console hooked up to it. A desk with a computer-like machine sits in the corner with many posters and notes hanging above it. A very futuristic auto closet which holds your entire wardrobe is on one wall, while a large window that gives you a great view of the Ultra Megalopolis, including Megalo Tower, is on the other. As you look out the window at the sprawling cityscape, your TV-like device gives off a couple beeps and notifies you that you're getting a video call from your mother. The display flickers on and you see a woman in futuristic clothing giving you a beaming smile.
Good morning, dear. I trust you slept well and are all ready to go?
She notices that you're still in your pajamas and tisks at you.
Oh no, don't tell me you forgot. Today's your big orientation day for the Ultra Recon Squad. I've been reminding you about this for weeks.
You look down sheepishly and she sighs and gives you a smile once more.
Oh, I can't stay mad at you, sweetie. Just get dressed and meet me at the Ultra Command Center, alright? It's right next to Megalo Tower.
Your mother gives a small wave goodbye and the screen blinks off. You groggily decide to get ready for your day, and while you're eating Ultra breakfast and packing your bag, allow me to give a little bit of context as to what's happening. As your mom just mentioned, today's the day you finally get to join the Ultra Recon Squad, who are the protectors of the Pokemon multiverse. After all the events of Ultra Sun and Moon, in which a powerful Pokemon known as Necrozma broke free from Megalo Tower and terrorized an Alolan dimension, the Ultra Recon Squad decided that they needed to become bigger and better to help more people and Pokemon throughout Ultra Space. They sent out a call for help, and you and your mother were part of a small group of applicants that were accepted. Your mom started working with them a few months ago, and today is finally when you yourself get to officially join the squad and help protect the multiverse. You're finally ready to go on your adventure and leave your apartment building, heading out onto the Ultra Megalopolis' streets. One thing I want to draw special attention to here is that in this game you would be able to explore more of the Ultra Megalopolis than just a single street. One of the most disappointing things about Ultra Sun and Moon for me was that the Megalopolis was literally a glorified hallway, and the first thing I did when planning this hypothetical game was make a detailed map of the Megalopolis where it actually feels like an expansive city you would be able to explore and interact with. We'll get into more details on what exactly you can do in the various streets and buildings a little later, but for all intents and purposes, think of the Ultra Megalopolis as the hub world for this game. For now, you stroll down the street, past Megalo Tower, and spot a futuristic building with a large dome. The sign out front says that this is the Ultra Command Center, so it looks like you found the place your mother mentioned. You enter the building and find yourself in a giant room with many high-tech machines and devices everywhere. Amidst all the machinery and equipment, you see your mother operating a circular station right in the center of it all. She sees you through one of the screens and gives you a smile as she leaves her workstation to come and greet you.
Hi, honey. Looks like you were able to find the Ultra Command Center all right. This is the headquarters for the Ultra Recon Squad, and now that you're a member, I'm sure you'll be seeing this place a lot. I know it might seem a little boring at first, but trust me, it grows on you after a while. Also, I'm supposed to give this to you.
Your mother grabs some clothing from a nearby container and hands it to you.
This is the special Ultra Recon Squad uniform. Everyone in the squad is required to wear them, and not only do they protect us from ultra space energy, but dare I say, they look fashionable to boot. Go change into it, and I'll call the rest of the Ultra Recon Squad here to meet you.
You magically change into your clothing, and your mom taps a couple buttons on one of the devices attached to her wrist. In a few moments, 4 people walk out of various rooms and stand before you confidently. These are the members of the Ultra Recon Squad. A man rocking some seriously awesome facial hair steps forward first and introduces himself. Ah, you must be our newest recruit. Welcome, player. I am the captain of the Ultra Recon Squad, otherwise known as FICO. I see your mother has given you your new uniform. That's great, and I hope it makes you feel like you're part of the squad. Speaking of our group, we should formally introduce ourselves and go over what the Ultra Recon Squad is all about. Soliera, if you'll please give our newest recruit a rundown. Another member of the Ultra Recon Squad steps forward.
After Necrozma broke free from Megalo Tower months ago and attacked another dimension alongside many other Ultra Beasts, we here at the Ultra Recon Squad decided that we needed to become bigger and better to help other dimensions from otherworldly threats.
The third member of the squad, Dulce, joins in too.
And that's our main purpose. We travel around the multiverse, saving people from Ultra Beasts that have invaded their dimensions and are wreaking havoc. I've seen firsthand the destruction that is caused by these powerful entities in worlds not equipped to handle them, and it is our duty to help those being attacked by UBs.
Everyone looks expectantly at the final squad member who is standing there humming to herself. She's suddenly aware of everyone looking at her and crashes back to reality.
And I'm Zossie!
Everyone groans at this, and Zossie frantically glances around, confused.
What's wrong? Why is everyone looking at me like that?
Zossie, we planned this speech out. Did you forget your lines?
Oh, nope. I still remember them. Something about, bringing back the light? Maybe?
Everyone groans again, and FICO steps forward once more. Ah well, I'm sure we'll nail the speech for the next recruits. Theatrics aside, as everyone just said, our main goal in the Ultra Recon Squad is to help those in other dimensions being attacked by Ultra Beasts. We'll take you out on a little test run later so you can get the flow of how to handle confronting Ultra Beasts, but before we do that, I think we should give you a tour of the Ultra Command Center. This will be your home away from home, so it's important you know all about the facilities we have here. FICO and the rest of the Ultra Recon Squad whisk you away on a tour of their headquarters, and your first stop is literally a few feet away because it's the room you're standing in. Your mother takes point on explaining this one and leads you around the room.
This room is the data center, and as you can see, this is where we decipher and analyze a lot of information we're gathering from parallel worlds. We've set up many sensors within Ultraspace, and all the equipment in this room is able to receive data from them, which I then process and review. While most of it is kind of boring, every now and then an energy spike will be detected in a dimension with normally low energy levels, and when that happens, we'll know that an Ultra Beast has most likely fallen into a world it's not supposed to be in, and we can send someone to go and deal with it before it causes trouble.
This is a very tough job because your mother essentially has to decipher and track down where the energy signal is coming from in the vastness of the multiverse. And so far, she's had a spotless track record in finding unwarranted UBs. You continue on your tour, although your mother stays behind because she has some very important work to do, and Fico takes over leading the group and brings you to your next stop, which is a break room connected to the data center. It looks pretty high-tech, which is to be expected, and there's a small kitchen, a couple couches and tables, a TV-like device, and numerous doors on the far wall. This here is our break room and living quarters. I know that you and your mother commute from home, so you won't need the rooms we've prepared for you, but feel free to relax in the break room anytime you like. Maybe Dulce can show you the recipes he's picked up from his many-dimensional journeys.
Oh, Dulce, you've got to make them a Lumio Skelette. It's so yummy.
Zossie, please. They're taking a tour. There will be time for pleasantries later.
Stop being so modest and show off your cooking skills, Dulcie. The feast you made for the crystal solstice was delicious.
Fico, please, continue the tour.
Very well, Dulce, but I'll expect a galette on my desk before the end of the day. You move on from the room and the tour wraps up with you arriving at one last chamber, although this one is pretty big and by the looks of it, pretty important. This is the dimensional gateway we've built, and essentially this is how you'll be traveling to other dimensions. Dulce, why don't you go show the player a demonstration? Soliera, will you please get the gift we've prepared for our new recruit? Soliera disappears off screen and returns with a small box, while Dulce walks over to a giant control panel and starts pressing buttons. After a few moments, you see a large portal materialize in front of you.
For years we used the power of Sol Galeo and Lunala to travel between dimensions, but recently we found that took quite a lot of energy out of them. We set to work to try and find an alternative to interdimensional travel, so as to not overexert them anymore, and we eventually created this spectacular device. It not only can sustain 5 mini ultra wormholes at once, but traveling between dimensions is almost instantaneous. Science sure is amazing.
Soliera walks up to you and presents you with the box.
Here, this is a gift from all of us in the Ultra Recon Squad to you. You can't save people from an Ultra Beast without a beast of your own, right? This is a Poipole, a UB common in our dimension that you can use as a beginning Pokemon. Although the concept of being a Pokemon trainer is still new to people in the Ultra Megalopolis, we in the Ultra Recon Squad can personally vouch for how powerful the bond between trainer and their Pokemon can be.
You take your starter Poipole from the box and everyone cheers. Amidst the celebration, Zossie, almost like a Western, confronts you and makes eye contact.
I challenge you to a battle, player!
The room is shocked and Zossie looks around sheepishly.
What? This is what you're supposed to do when you get your first Pokemon. You have a battle with it to show your connection. Me and my new friend haven't had a chance to battle yet, so I was just thinking that, maybe.
Everyone's still a little surprised by this, but Dulce thinks it over for a second and says,
Zossie, that is a very good point. You and the player shall have a battle, and I'll analyze your combat to see what I can learn from it for my own battles.
Dulce's words have literally given Zossie life, and she springs to action calling out her Pokemon.
All right. If Dulce says it's okay, then let's give this a try. Hi-ya!
Zossie calls out her Pokemon, which is an Alolan Diglett. You call out your newly received Poipole, and your first Pokemon battle then begins. It's also Zossie's first experience in Pokemon battling too, and after you defeat her, she's surprisingly energetic.
Whoa, I've never felt such a rush like that before. Is this what being a trainer is like? It's so much fun. Can we have another battle, please? I think I know what moves to have Diglett use this time.
Zossie, your Pokemon fainted.
What do you mean?
Dulce and Zossie have a conversation about what exactly it means when a Pokemon faints, and your mother walks in and sees you and your Poipole standing victorious. She's incredibly proud of you, but says that she has rather serious news to share with everyone, which is that she's located an Ultra Beast that has fallen into an innocent dimension. The somewhat carefree attitude in the room quickly becomes serious again, and all the members snap to attention. Alright, seeing as how this is the first mission the player here will take part in, I want you, Dulce, to lead them. You've been in the squad a long time and are a great leader. Zossie, you'll accompany Dulce and the new recruits. I know how much you want to become stronger and go on a solo mission, and this will be good practice for you. Soliera, the player's mother, and I shall stay here and monitor the situation. Dulce nods and Fico presses a lot of buttons on the control panel and a small portal is presented in front of you. When you're ready, recruit, step up to the Ultra Wormhole. Dulce and Zossie will guide you from there. Good luck, player, and welcome to the Ultra Recon Squad. With Fico's words of encouragement said, he walks over to a monitor to analyze some data, and everyone else prepares for their upcoming mission. As you're about to step up to the portal to begin said mission, your mother stops you briefly. She's very excited that you're going to travel to a new dimension and says that there's nothing to worry about. Dulce and Zossi are professionals, so as long as you listen to them, you'll learn the ropes in no time. Your mother also informs you about your suit's special technology integration, called the Ultra Gear. To break the fourth wall a little bit here, the Ultra Gear is essentially your menu in this game, and is a device attached to your wrist that lets you call up a hologram overlay you'll find all sorts of things on. This is where you'll find your Pokédex, all the items you've collected, your current team, a list of all the ride Pokemon you can call, a map of the dimension you're in, a short-range communication device, and so on. After relaying all that info to you, your mother gives you a hug goodbye, and you approach Dulce and Zossi, who are standing in front of the wormhole.
All right, it's time to depart. Follow Zossi and I's lead, and when you're ready, step through the Ultra Wormhole. This will take us to Dimension 7.8-10A, and once we arrive, I'll explain more about our goal.
Dulce steps through the portal and Zossi follows close behind, giving you a smile and a wave. It's now or never, so you step through the Ultra Wormhole, and for a brief moment you see the vastness and majesty of Ultra Space before a bright light flashes and the world distorts around you. In an instant, it's all over and you blink your eyes open to find that you're on a somewhat mountainous island in the middle of the ocean. Up ahead, you see a pathway that goes up a large volcano to a small village, and your two Ultra Recon Squad companions are at the start of the trail. Dulce is scanning the environment with his Ultra Gear, while Zossi is staring at you curiously, trying to suppress a giggle. She says that you look a little frazzled by your first time going through an Ultra Wormhole, but quickly mentions that after a while you'll get used to it. Dulce's Ultra Gear gives off a couple pings, and he walks over to the two of you to share the data he's gathered.
It appears this dimension has suffered some kind of massive flooding in its past. My sensors indicate that many buildings and structures are below the waves, and the island we're currently on was once a tall volcano in the region. I'd like to get up higher so I can gather better data about this world, and then we can see about tracking down the Ultra Beast we're looking for. I saw a town up ahead, so when you two are ready, meet me there.
Dulce gives a curt nod and stiffly starts trekking up the mountain. Zossi says that,
I better go make sure he gets there all right. He's not really the best when it comes to hiking. There was this one time we were in a region called Kalos by its frost cavern and— Whoa! Dulce! Hold on! That's a cliff!
Zossi takes off after Dulce, and at this point in the game, you can explore the route in this new dimension at your leisure. A few items are hidden throughout the route, and there's a lot of wild Pokemon to battle. All the Pokemon you'll find in this world are from Generation 3, which I'll talk about why in just a second, and you can catch any of them to add to your current team alongside your Poipole. You eventually make it up the route and find the town Dulce was talking about. It's built right into the side of a giant volcano, and an old sign says this village is called New Petalburg. It doesn't look especially new, but regardless, you wander around the town. After a little bit of exploration, you find Dulce and Zossi by an outdoor storefront where the two have just purchased a map of the island and surrounding archipelago.
Zossi and I have just bought a map of the area and scanned it into our Ultra Gear. Apparently, my theory was correct, and this region, known as the Hoenn region, was once mostly above water until something the locals call the Arch Flood happened and submerged the land. I've just sent the map to your Ultra Gear, so please take a look at it and we can discuss our plan for finding the UB.
You open up the map Dulce sent you, and a version of Hoenn that's mostly covered by water is presented before you. I think now is probably a good time to take a step back and talk about this parallel dimension version of Hoenn as a whole and just what exactly happened to it. Basically, this version of Hoenn is one where Team Aqua succeeded with their evil plan in Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, and the entire world was flooded. Most of Hoenn was swept underwater, and those that were able to escape the ravenous torrents moved to high ground and built new villages and communities. As you can see, I was really able to play around with this flooded Hoenn's layout, and so I included a lot of old places you might recognize like Mount Chimney, Fortree City, and Sutopolis, mixed in with some new landmasses that provide additional areas you can explore and find Pokemon in. Speaking of Pokemon, on screen right now is a list of what Generation 3 monsters you would be able to find and capture in this alternate region. Obviously, I couldn't put all of them in, but I tried to get a pretty good selection for the most part. As you're looking over the map, Zassi is talking to the shop vendor who mentioned something rather interesting. Apparently, some unnatural lightning storms have been happening towards the eastern Hoenn Islands, and it's caused a lot of problems getting supplies into town. The town's leader, Norman, tried to go and see what was happening, but unfortunately couldn't stop the mysterious electric storm. Zassi turns back to both you and Dulce somewhat excited.
Did you hear that, you guys? That weird lightning storm totally sounds like the Ultra Beast we're looking for. How do you suppose we get to the other islands to check it out?
It does seem likely that that's our target. Most likely the electric-emitting UB circuitry causing trouble. We must do something fast, so I think we should see if this Norman person can help us reach other islands.
You and Zassi agree with Dulce's plan and locate the town leader's house. It doesn't look like anything too special on the outside, and when you enter, the interior is no different. A somewhat older man, who you assume to be Norman, is meditating in the middle of the room and shows no reaction to the 3 interdimensional squad members barging in.
Is he dead? Oh, I don't know if this is such a good...
No, I'm not dead. The man's eyes blearily opened, and he gives a stone-cold expression to the 3 of you. I've heard rumblings around town about 3 outsiders who say they can stop the lightning storms plaguing the region. I'm assuming that's you 3, correct?
Yes, we believe the cause of the lightning is from a very powerful Pokemon, and we are well equipped to handle such a strong opponent.
Although we were kind of hoping you maybe had like a boat we could borrow, or a tube. Really anything we can use to get over there.
Norman ponders Dulce and Zassi's words, and after a long pause hands you and Zassi a Pokeball each. Here, take my daughter's old Pokemon. You can use them to surf around Hoenn and find this electrifying monstrosity. Though it may seem strange to suddenly trust 3 strangers with helping the region, I'm afraid I don't have many options left. Just know this, if this is all a trick in any way and your intentions are anything other than helping the region. Norman's expression gets incredibly serious, and his eyes burn with the intensity of someone who has seen countless horrors. You and the other 2 Ultra Recon Squad members recoil in fear, with Zassi clinging to Dulce, and Dulce stammers out reassurance that you're only here to help. Norman somewhat lightens up and gives you all a nod. You each thank Norman for his help and quickly shamble out of his house. Once outside, the 3 of you let out a huge sigh of relief.
Whoa, that guy can get intense. His mean look could rival a watchdog's. Thank you for letting me hold your hand, Dulce.
Norman and the rest of the dimension have been through a lot, so it's understandable why he's so serious. And you're welcome, Zassi. I think we should go find the Ultra Beast now.
The 3 of you head down the mountain a little ways to a small dock and call out the Pokemon Norman lent you, which is both a giant Wailord and a Swampert. What's kind of cool about this is that you actually get to choose which one you want as your ride Pokemon in this region, with Swampert being much faster, while Wailord is slower but has the chance to encounter rare Pokemon like Relicanth. Once you've chosen your ride Pokemon, Dulce and Zassi choose the other, and all of you climb aboard your new ride Pokemon friends and prepare to voyage across Hoenn. You cast off from the dock, and at this point in the story, you have free reign to travel between 3 different areas. You can go to them in any order you like, and I wanted to quickly run through what these 3 places have to offer. The first area we'll talk about is Fortree City, which I'll be honest is not the most exciting place in flooded Hoenn. You can get a fishing rod here and find some rare Pokemon by fishing from the tree houses, but aside from that, there isn't much else to do here pertaining to the UB you're looking for. The second island you can visit is south from Fortree City and is Mount Pyre. It's mostly the same as it was in Alpha Sapphire, although there is one small difference, which is that the entire mountain is slowly sinking back into the sea. This has caused all the wild Pokemon that live there to go out of control, and if you want to reach the summit and see a long-forgotten altar, you'll have to fight your way through many frenzied Pokemon. The third island you can go to, at least for right now, is a new place that wasn't explorable in any other version of Hoenn. It's an island located right here and is covered by a very dense forest. It's one of the few places in this flooded Hoenn that has a lot of dry land, and because of that, many trainers and wild Pokemon can be found here. As you're adventuring through this island, Dulce says that there appears to be a very high amount of energy here, which leads him to believe the Ultra Beast could be hiding nearby. You hear a rustle in the grass, and then another one, and Dulce is suddenly knocked backwards. You and Zassi are surprised at this, and out of the shadows you see a green-haired teenager and a Gallade walk into view.
So, you think you can just walk around stealing people's Pokemon, huh?
What are you talking about?
Those water-type Pokemon you have don't belong to you. Give them back, or else.
But the old guy let us borrow them! We're just trying to help the region.
Dulce, still a little shaken by the attack, tries to talk some sense into the kid, but he just won't listen. Suddenly, a weird electrical buzzing sound is heard, and a giant lightning strike rushes towards all 5 of you. The kid yells to his Gallade to use Protect, but it's too slow and gets knocked out instantly by the blast. Everyone turns to look at who did this, and you see a strange collection of wires and cords swaying to some kind of unheard rhythm, before it turns around and runs away.
That's our target, player. That's UB-03 Lightning, otherwise known as Circuitry. Quickly, we must go after it.
You start running to apprehend the electrical cable monster, but the kid blocks your path.
What is this? You made that thing attack me and my Gallade, and now you're gonna run away? I don't think so. I've been catching a lot of new Pokemon in this forest so I can train up a new team, and even though they're weak right now, there's no way we're gonna let you get away.
You're suddenly flung into a battle against this angry green-haired teenager. On his team, he unfortunately doesn't have his Gallade, as it literally just got electrocuted, and he uses a lot of lower-level Pokemon he's been training up in the forest, including a Cascoon, Zigzagoon, and a Ralts. You defeat him pretty easily, and he gets incredibly frustrated. Dulce runs past the kid to see if he can find the fleeing Circuitry, but returns a few moments later and says that it escaped into the ocean. A wave of disappointment spreads across you and the other Recon Squad members, but Zossie tries to lighten the mood a little bit and goes over to console the teenager and explain the entire situation to him. The screen fades to black momentarily as Zossie talks to the kid, and when it fades back in, things have calmed down.
So that thing is what's causing the lightning storms? And Norman did really let you borrow May's Pokemon to go find it. That makes sense. I'm sorry I assumed the worst of you. I'm Wally.
Hi, Wally. I'm Zossie. This is the player here, and the grumpy one over there is Dulce. We are part of the Ultra Recon Squad.
Wally gives a quizzical look and Dulce jumps in to explain more.
We come from a distant city and are trained professionals at tracking down and dealing with powerful Pokemon, like what just took down your Gallade. I do apologize for it being knocked out by Circuitry, but if you could perhaps tell us what lies in the direction the monster went, we can find it and make sure it doesn't hurt any other Pokemon.
Wally thinks about it for a moment and says that it looked like the Ultra Beast was heading towards Pacific Town, which is a little further east. You and the rest of the squad thank Wally for his help and start leaving the forest to continue tracking down the UB. As you're leaving, Wally calls out to you specifically and says,
Hey, just so you know, I wouldn't have lost that easy. After Gallade gets healed and I have the rest of my team with me, come find me and I'll show you how strong I am.
You give Wally a thumbs up and leave the island behind. You travel to Pacific as per Wally's suggestion, and when you arrive, you find that the town has seriously expanded compared to how it was originally. It's now been built up onto the 2 small islands that were close to it, and one of the islands attached has a small land route you can adventure through. You go through the town, including the new route, gathering info about the whereabouts of Circuitry, and as you're doing so, you see a strange electrical light shimmering beneath you. You, Dulce, and Zossie observe the light as it swims underneath you and heads northeast towards Sutopolis. The 3 of you look at each other and are so in sync that you immediately jump aboard your ride Pokemon to chase after it. When you make it to Sutopolis, you find that the light was indeed Circuitry, and it's swimming around the rim of Sutopolis rapidly, causing an electrical storm that is damaging the rim of the city.
If we don't do something fast, it's gonna break through and flood Sutopolis!
Quickly, we must set up a plan of attack. Zossie, you and your Pokemon will wait on this island. I'll wait on that one, and the player will scare Circuitry into our grasp.
But won't that mean I'll have to battle it? I mean, I'm not scared, of course, but maybe the player here could help me? Please?
Don't worry, Zossie. We'll be ready to jump in and assist you. I believe in you, and so does the player and your Pokemon. Be strong, and I know we can do this together.
The 3 of you set the plan in motion and get into your positions. A small puzzle happens here where you have to maneuver the Circuitry into the right position by moving behind it. Think of the Farfetch'd puzzle in Generation 2 as a reference, and once you've gotten it into the right position, it springs up onto land right in front of Zossie.
All right, you big dancing Circuitry. My Diglett and I are going to capture you so you don't hurt anyone else. It's nothing personal. I think your dance moves are awesome. But they're hurting a lot of people, so you have to stop.
The Circuitry does not stop and actually goes so far as to attack Zossie. You quickly sail to the island Zossie's on and jump in to rescue her from the electrifying interdimensional dance monster. This begins your very first battle against a UB. Now zooming out of the story for a moment, the battles you have with Ultra Beasts are basically the game's substitution for gym leader battles. They're the boss of each dimension, so to speak, and each of them not only has one of their stats boosted, but they also have the ability to call wild Pokemon to their aid. Battling them is meant to be very reminiscent of totem battles from Gen 7, which I felt was fitting because, as I said earlier, my dream game is loosely meant to be like an Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon spin-off. You battle the wild Xurkitree, who is able to call Electrike, Plusle, and Minun to its aid, and after a lengthy battle, you successfully KO the monster. Xurkitree flops to the ground defeated, and you and your Pokemon stand triumphant. Dulce finally manages to swim over to the island you're on, and before examining the knocked out UB, goes over to check on Zossie to see if she's okay.
Are you okay, Zossie? You and Diglett did well. I'm sorry we weren't able to get here sooner, but you handled the situation like a true professional.
Zossie is still a little panicked, which, let's be real, is totally understandable when an electric UB is attacking you, but she puts on a brave face.
Thank you, Dulce. I'm gonna be fine. It was actually sorta cool, in a weird way, that Diglett and I got to battle it. We still have a long way to go before we're strong enough to do a solo mission, but I'm sure we can do it together.
Zossie has rebounded from her fear and turned it into ambition to become a strong trainer and Ultra Recon Squad member. Dulce gives a genuine smile as he stands up and then turns to you and the Xurkitree.
Excellent work. Now that the invading UB has been subdued, we can use a special Ultra Recon Ball to capture it. This will send it back to the command center, and from there we can locate what dimension it's from and send it home safely.
Dulce produces the special Pokeball from his Ultra Gear and tosses it at the Xurkitree. It's captured instantly and the ball disappears into a small Ultra wormhole that appears beneath it.
Mission complete!
Dulce and Zossie turn to face you and give you a solid head nod as well as a smile and a jump respectively.
Well done, new recruit. You've successfully completed your first mission for the squad. You've shown that you definitely have the skill to survive on your own in different dimensions, and I'll make sure to put that in my report to FICO. When you have finished examining and exploring this dimension, meet us back at the Ultra Command Center.
Dulce turns to leave and Zossie quickly comes up to you.
I just wanted to thank you for saving me back there. I know Dulce said I was brave, but I know I really wasn't. At least not as much as you. I hope that in time I can be as strong and fearless of an Ultra Recon Squad member as you and your Pokemon. Diglett and I are gonna keep training, but I wanted you to have this as a thank you gift.
Zossie gives you a small homemade friendship bracelet made from the flowers of this dimension and the gems of the Ultra Megalopolis, and then skips out of frame to go find Dulce. Alright, so you've successfully completed the main story of this flooded Hoenn dimension. If you want, you can go right back to the Ultra Megalopolis, but there's a few additional things you can do here now that the UB boss has been beaten. The first is that you can go into Sootopolis by climbing down a staircase within the rim, and you can explore and talk to the people inside. There's a clothing store here where you can buy Generation 3 style clothing to wear, and your exploration of Sootopolis eventually leads you to the Cave of Origin. Inside, you'll find a mysterious person called the Protector of Sootopolis. She says that long ago she was a celebrity in Hoenn, but after the passing of her uncle, she decided to take up the mantle of being Sootopolis' guardian. She thanks you for helping the city today and gives you a TM containing Waterfall, which she says was one of her late uncle's favorite moves. The second thing you can do in this dimension, at least before you make it to the post-game, is you can surf to and explore the Pokemon League. It's still on an island to the far east of Hoenn, and when you make it there, you find that the entire place has been abandoned, and Dark and Ghost-type Pokemon are running rampant. When you're ready to go back to the Megalopolis, you return to the portal by Mount Chimney and warp back to the Ultra Command Center. Home sweet parallel dimension home. Now at this point in the game, you're able to freely explore the Ultra Command Center and Ultra Megalopolis. As I mentioned at the start of the game, the Megalopolis is supposed to be like the hub world you get to explore. And because of that, I tried to make there be a substantial amount of things you can do here and places to explore while you're waiting for your next interdimensional mission. Some of the notable places you can find throughout the Megalopolis include the Dimensional Gateway, which I know we've already talked about, but I wanted to bring up that you can return to the Gateway outside of a mission, and you'll be able to return to any parallel worlds you've already visited. A civilian area awaits you south of Megalo Tower, which includes many buildings and stores like a clothing shop, Pokemon item and supply warehouse, a daycare, and a brand new battle simulation arena. And the final area you'll be able to find in this hub world is something called the Ultra Outlands. This is an area to the west of town, and it's a collection of maze-like canyons and caves where a lot of things from other dimensions have fallen into. You'll be able to find a wide assortment of wild Pokemon from every region here, including some from my regional video videos, and there's also a lot of items, plants, buildings, and sometimes even trainers from other dimensions that can be found within the labyrinthian depths of the area. Now, alongside exploring the outlands and metropolitan places of the Megalopolis, the other thing you'll be doing in this hub world is a ton of side quests for the Ultra Recon Squad. In your downtime between hunting Ultra Beasts, you can do a couple small favors for the other members of the squad, and earn special rewards like TMs, exclusive clothing, and sometimes just a random item. To give an example of what these quests would be like, in one of them, Zasi asks for your help in making a cake for Dulce. She says that Dulce always makes her such great food, and she wanted to try and repay the favor by baking him something. She asks you to go to the Outlands and find 3 different berries she can use, and when you get them in return, you not only get to see a cutscene with Zasi presenting the cake to Dulce, who is incredibly gracious, but you also get a reward, which is a piece of the cake. Truth be told, the cake isn't necessarily great, but your Pokemon certainly like it, and it will heal all status conditions if you give it to them during a battle. That's one example of a quest you would be able to do in the Ultra Megalopolis, but there would be a lot more. In one of them, Soliera has fused with a Pokemon due to a problem with the Dimensional Gateway, and you have to find a way to return her to normal. In another, Dulce is trying to figure out something to give Zasi as a thank you present and enlists your help in thinking of something, and so on. Really, what I'm trying to get across here is that though you'll be traveling to other dimensions where you'll be experiencing the classic Pokemon formula of catching and battling monsters, I still tried to make the Ultra Megalopolis feel like it has something to offer in the grand scheme of this hypothetical game, and have many areas and side quests you can participate in. Okay, so as you're doing various activities throughout the Megalopolis, you'll eventually get an alert on your Ultra Gear from your mother, who says that an aggressive UB has been detected. You rush to the Dimensional Gateway and see Fico and Soliera standing in front of a portal. Ah, there you are, player. Right on time, as always. Your mother has found another dimension in need of saving from a UB, and I think you and Soliera are the right members for the job. You know the drill of how to do this from your last mission, so I'll let the 2 of you go without any more of my blabbering. Good luck, recruit. Fico leaves the room, and Soliera is waiting by a new Ultra wormhole in the gateway.
Hello. It seems we're going to tag team this Ultra Beast, and I look forward to working with you. We're about to enter Dimension Z13B, but before we do, I wanted to battle you. Zasi and Dulce have been raving about your skills, and I want to see what kind of partner will be accompanying me on this mission. Will you battle me? Excellent. Then let us have a, as they say in Dimension Y049L-Q, duel. On guard!
Soliera calls out her Pokemon, and you do the same. On her team, she uses a Furfrou, Poipole, Fletchinder, and Seadra, and you and your Pokemon easily defeat her.
Oh my, Dulce and Zasi weren't lying. You truly are a great trainer. You've more than shown your skill, so let us leave for our mission now.
She motions for you to follow her and steps through the Ultra Wormhole. You follow right behind her and enter the portal. The wonders of Ultra Space zoom past you, and as quickly as it begins, a white light flashes and the world around you blurs into focus. You're in a dimly lit castle, and Soliera is looking over some of the old relics and paintings in the room. She notices you've arrived and gives a small update on all the info she's gathered.
Glad to see you've made it here in one piece. I've done a little scouting of the surrounding area, and it turns out we're in an old fortress called Chabonneau Castle that's been turned into a museum. Let's go outside and have a look around, shall we?
You follow Soliera out of the room and through more chambers within the castle, and eventually make it outside. The nighttime air is crisp with the frigid air of winter, and Soliera looks at some data she's pulled up on her Ultra Gear.
Thankfully, this dimension has wireless signals nearby, and I was able to pull a map of the area from them. I've just now sent it to your Ultra Gear. I don't have a reading of the fallen Ultra Beast yet, but I think we should head over to that big city in the distance, which the map says is called Lumiose City. Perhaps we can see if...
A Viking horn blares throughout the night, and in the distance you see a fleet of large Viking ships sailing down a river. They're getting dangerously close to the walls of Lumiose City, and you see a barrage of Pokemon attacks fly out of all the ships and pummel the wall closest to them. The massive barrier falls, and all the ships sail into the city. Moments later, many screams are heard, fires are started, and wreckage starts flying around from inside Lumiose. Soliera is taken aback by what's just happened, and she starts to run towards the chaos.
Come on! Player, we must go see what's happening, and if anyone is in need of help.
Soliera dashes ahead of you into the night and moves quickly on the route towards the Under Siege city. You follow right behind her, and at this point you get to explore the route between Campfire Town and Lumio City. It's basically like it was in Generation 6, including an array of Kalos Pokemon in the grass you can encounter, although the mood is drastically different. All the trainers on the route are confused and scared at what's happening, and a few people say that they heard Lumiose is under attack! Eventually, you make it to the end of the route and see Soliera talking to a couple people dressed in very old Nordic-style clothing. As you approach them, you catch the tail end of their conversation, and it appears that these Vikings aren't going to let Soliera, nor you, enter Lumio City.
As I told ya, you ain't getting into the city.
Yeah.
Soliera is getting frustrated and turns to you.
These criminals aren't going to let us in peacefully, it seems. I hate to use unnecessary force, but it looks like we have no other choice. Player, aid me in battling these thugs!
Huh? You think you can take on Team Berserk? Did you hear that, Harold?
These weaklings think they can stand up to us. Nah, let's show them how we get our names as the dragon-slaying heroes.
The screen flashes with the battle logo, and just like that, you're thrown into a showdown against the Team Berserk Grunts. On their teams, and we'll talk about this more in a moment, they use a mixture of fairy and ice-type Pokemon, including some new ones I made for my Scandinavian Pokemon region. Once you've beaten them, they're at a loss for words.
What? Impossible! Don't tell me these people are part of another prophecy we have to worry about.
Come on, Harold. We must alert the others that our invasion is being invaded.
The two grunts retreat into the city, and Soliera gives a sigh of relief.
Thank you, player. I knew you would be able to handle them, and you did an exceptional job. While you were battling those Team Berserk people, I did a quick history check on the region to find out who they are and what business they have in Kalos. I'm afraid the results I've dug up are not exactly favorable.
Soliera shows you all the information she's found, and I think now's a good time to explain what exactly is up with Team Berserk and this Under Siege Kalos dimension. Okay, so to understand what's happening in this version of Kalos, we'll need to look at another video I've made. What if Scandinavia was a Pokemon region? Within that video, I created a hypothetical Pokemon game revolving around what I thought Norway, Denmark, and Sweden could be like as a Pokemon region, and made locations, new Pokemon, and an overarching story for it. Focusing in on that last point, the story I created for the region revolved around a very Viking-inspired evil team called Team Berserk, who were trying to fulfill the destiny their ancestors foresaw and annihilate all the dragon types in the Scandinavian region. In the story, their leader, Sigurd, followed his ancestors' goal vigilantly, but by the end of the narrative realized that he didn't need to adhere to his so-called destiny and could find his own path. Sigurd learned to love and appreciate dragon types, and during the video's finale called off Team Berserk's assault of the region. But what if he never did? What if Sigurd never learned a lesson about friendship and dragon types being nice, and instead pursued his quote-unquote destiny to the nth degree? Well, this Kalos dimension is based around that idea. In this dimension, Team Berserk and Sigurd never wised up, and they successfully wiped out all the dragons in their homeland. They weren't satisfied with just one region dragon-free though, and felt like they had a sworn duty to rid the entire world of dragons. They've been sailing the seas to different regions to try and accomplish their dragon-related goal, and in a rather unfortunate coincidence, the same day that you and Soliera went to this dimension to find an Ultra Beast is the same day that Team Berserk decided to invade Kalos. Now, the main area you get to explore in this world is an under-attack Lumio City. I know Lumios might not be the most exciting area in the Kalos region, but this version of the city is a little different than the one in X and Y. It's much more like a giant maze you have to maneuver through, and it's complete chaos inside of it. Barricades, wreckage, wild Pokemon, trainers who don't know what's happening and attack you out of fear, and Team Berserk grunts are all inside the city, and you'll have to battle your way through them to hopefully find Team Berserk's leader as well as the Ultra Beast you're looking for. Getting back to the story, you and Soliera enter Lumios, and as I just described, the entire city is both metaphorically and literally on fire. Soliera is at a loss for words and says that though the Ultra Beast is why you came here, you should see if you can help out at all with the invading evil team. Soliera disappears into the chaos to see what she can do to help, and at this point you get to work your way through the vast maze of Lumios. As you're working your way through the city, battling Team Berserk grunts and finding all sorts of wild Pokemon, you'll spot a couple of the Viking ships you saw earlier docked in the canal. While most of the ships just have wild Pokemon and Team Berserk grunts you can battle, one of the ships, which looks a little bigger and more impressive than the others, contains an important story event. As you're exploring this ship, you'll eventually hear some loud shouts and chants from below you, and a man who looks far more important than a regular Berserk grunt barges out of the deck.
Aye, so you're the one causing problems out here, eh? It's been a long time since someone stood up to Team Berserk, so let's see if old Bjorn still got the skill to beat ya. Oh, it feels like it's been years since I've gotten to battle, so please put up a good fight.
You battle the man who is one of Team Berserk's admins named Bjorn, and he uses a Celio, Carbink, and Ursa Ring. Upon being defeated, he sits down exhausted.
Ugh, you're a tough one, I'll give you that. It's been a long time since we've had any opposition, but that's alright. There's no way you'll beat our Valkyrie. In fact, I dare you to try. Our Valkyrie should be at Prism Tower right now, taking over everything. So if a runt like you thinks you can take her on, then I'd love to see you try. Take this keycard to get in, and I can't wait to see your face when you lose.
Bjorn gives you the Prism Tower keycard, and you leave the Viking ship to go pay this mysterious Valkyrie a visit. You have to make your way through more of the Lumiose City Labyrinth, but eventually you make it to Prism Tower. You use the keycard to get inside the building, and it's clear that Team Berserk has taken full control of the tower, as many Berserk grunts are spread out around the interior. You start scaling Prism Tower, battling any grunts who are foolish enough to try and stop you, and you eventually make it to an elevator that puts you out on the top floor. The room is somewhat dark, but at the far end you see a woman clad in heavy armor examining some charts and maps. As you move further into the room, she stoically walks up to greet you.
So you're the runt I've been hearing about today. A couple of my people warned me about two strangers trying to interrupt our plans, but I thought we'd be able to squash you like a Durant. Was Bjorn not capable of defeating you?
You tell her about Bjorn's defeat and how he gave you the keycard in, and she gives a hearty laugh.
Of course Bjorn would cave in so easily. He always did show a weakness in strategy and thinking things through. He did make the right call in sending you here, though. As Team Berserk's Valkyrie, I shall put a stop to you here.
Cue the music, because Team Berserk Valkyrie Kara is challenging you to a showdown. On her team, she uses a Togetic, Glaceon, Granbull, and Beartic, and once you've beaten her, she recoils in defeat.
Impossible! Every challenger has faltered against my Pokémon and I. Team Berserk cannot fail. I simply need more help to take you down.
She lets out a curdling yell and waits for a few moments, but nothing seems to happen. She lets out another wail, and still, nothing. Suddenly, the elevator opens behind you, and a woman wearing an elegant white dress struts into the room alongside a Mega Gardevoir. Kara steps backward in fear at the sight and says,
No! They told me you'd be busy at the coast. Why are you here, Champion Diantha?
The woman walking into the room, the Kalos region champion Diantha, has an icy glare on her face and says nothing as she walks towards Kara. Her Gardevoir gets ready to attack, and Kara makes a split-second decision to leap through the glass of Prism Tower, calling out her Togetic and flying away on it. Gardevoir launches a few attacks at her, but unfortunately Kara is able to successfully escape. It's a little hard to see from up here, but it looks like Kara is landing at one of Team Berserk's ships, and all of them are fleeing the canal and retreating from Lumiose. Diantha gives a heavy sigh and calls her Gardevoir back to its Pokeball. She walks over to you and formally introduces herself and thanks you for all your help. She says that she and the rest of the Elite Four had gone to deal with the separate emergency Team Berserk was causing on the western coast, and they didn't anticipate that Lumiose was also going to be attacked. She says that if you hadn't been here, then Lumiose City might have been lost, and she thanks you again for all your help. She attaches a keystone which will allow you to Mega Evolve your Pokemon to the friendship bracelet Zossie made for you, and also gives you a few Mega Stones including Metagrossite, Gardevoirite, and Gallade-ite. Diantha leaves Prism Tower to go and assess all the damage Lumiose has taken, and you also leave as well. Once outside, Soliera catches up with you and says that all the Viking invaders have left. She's not sure why, but she has a feeling that you probably did something amazing to save the day, and she thanks you immensely for helping this dimension. She then rather abruptly brings up that she's found the Ultra Beast you came here to look for in the first place. She says it's over there by the wall that Team Berserk's ship crashed through, and you should go over there and take care of it. You go to the town's northern canal and see the wall that Team Berserk came through. Tons of bricks and carnage are spread out out everywhere, but something strange catches your eye. Some of the bricks appear to be moving. You get closer to the debris, and right in front of you, all the bricks start connecting together like a puzzle until they form an Ultra Beast. The towering wall creature suddenly attacks, and this begins your battle against UB Assembly, Stakataka. You and your Poiple put up a great fight against Stakataka, who is able to call Goletz to its aid, and you eventually break down the wall-like UB. You throw an Ultra Recon ball at it, and it's captured instantly and teleported back to the command center.
Mission complete!
With Stakataka now captured, you've completed the main story of this invaded Kalos dimension. Now, much like with the flooded Hoenn dimension, you can stick around here for as long as you want and do various activities. There's still wild Pokemon running around Lumiose you can encounter. Some of these stores in the city have reopened, including a clothing store, and there's also a couple routes outside of the city you can traverse and battle trainers on. One of the bigger things you can do here after catching the UB is you can find Diantha on the streets of Lumiose and help her track down some Berserk grunts that were left behind when Team Berserk fled the city earlier. They're hiding all throughout the city, and if you can find and defeat them, Diantha will reward you with Mega Stones. Once you've had your fill with this version of Kalos, you can warp back to the Ultra Command Center. You're free to once again explore the Megalopolis and complete various side quests until you eventually get an alert on your Ultra gear from your mother. It seems another out-of-place UB has been found, and you've been assigned on a mission to bring it in. You report to the Dimensional Gateway and find Zassi standing there alone.
That's right, player! Looks like you and me will be partners on this mission. I'm really excited to show you how strong I've become, so let's do this!
Zassi excitedly presses buttons on the nearby console and an Ultra Wormhole alights in front of you. She charges in without a care in the world, and you follow right behind her. The same feeling you felt the past couple times you've gone through Ultra Wormhole sets in on you, but this time it doesn't seem to stop. It continues to constrict and compress you until the screen fades to black. When you wake up, you find yourself in a large grassy crater area. You and your Pokemon seem to be fine, at least according to your Ultra gear, and you get up to have a look around. As you traverse the crater, you'll find a lot of Generation 5 Pokemon to encounter, but no human life seems to be in the general vicinity. You find a cave you can enter, and when you've gone through it, you'll be put right on top of the crater's edge. Nearby, you see Zassi looking rather frantic as she's trying to pull up data on her Ultra gear, and when she notices you, she practically runs over and tackles you out of joy.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here too! No, it's nothing. I was just a little scared, but it's okay. I'm alright. You and your Pokemon are okay too, I hope?
You give Zassi a smile and a nod, and she wipes away her tears and gives you a smile back.
Okay, I'm calming down now. So I might have accidentally set the coordinates wrong for the portal, which is why we had such a bumpy landing. We're still in the right dimension, so the Ultra Beast will be around here somewhere. But unfortunately, the portal has disappeared, so we're going to be stuck here forever. Nah, I'm just joking. The portal is gone, but thankfully I always carry around an Ultra Recall system, which will generate a wormhole back to the Megalopolis no matter what dimension we're in. I may have done this once before, and Dulce may have made me carry one of these with me ever since then, but that's not important right now. Here, I'll show you how it works.
Zassi pulls out a shiny-looking radar dish device, and as she's getting it set up, a strange grunting sound is heard behind you. You and Zassi look at each other confused for a moment before both of you get knocked over by some kind of mysterious being. The recall system clatters to the ground, and the creature that shoved you is hunching over the device, sniffing it and grunting.
What is that thing? That's not a Pokemon, is it?
The creature turns around, and you see the glassy, unintelligent eyes of a cave woman staring back at you. She lets out a few screeches and picks up the Ultra Recall system and starts sprinting away on all fours.
Wait! We need that shiny metal thing you have, Miss Cave Woman! Player, if we don't get the recall device back, we're going to be in serious trouble! It's the only way we can get back home, so quick, chase after that animal person!
Zassi frantically chases after the cave woman, and you follow right behind her. You go through a small route from the crater that connects to a clearing located roughly here. There's a lot of half-eaten food and caveman-era equipment around the clearing, and it looks like this was a former campsite. You spot Zassi by the edge of the clearing, and she's peering into a shallow cave entrance which is partially covered by cloth. cloth. A lot of animalistic growling is heard from inside the cave, and Zossie gives a surprised shriek as the cave person leaps out of her home and claws at Zossie as she lands in front of you. With the cave woman's amazing introduction out of the way, you're flung into a Pokemon battle against her. On her team, she uses a Minccino, Bouffalant, Whimsicott, and Liepard, and because she is a Neanderthal, she just yells into the air and her Pokemon come out of the wilderness to her aid. Unfortunately, being a prehistoric human means that she doesn't have the inherent strategy that you do, and you're able to easily defeat her. Once beaten, she starts whimpering at you and walks like a wounded dog back to her cave. Zossie feels kind of bad about what you've done and goes to try and communicate with the girl. You begrudgingly go to the cave as well and enter it to find that it's a pretty nice setup. You know, by caveman standards. The cave person is hunched in the corner eating some kind of meat, probably a Pokemon's, but let's not dwell on that. And all around her you see that she's collected a lot of stuff, including the recall system you're looking for. Zossie is crouched next to the primitive girl and is trying to communicate.
Miss Cave Woman, I'm really sorry you lost your battle against the player. Trust me, I know how that goes. But don't worry, because if you keep training, I'm sure you and your Pokemon will become stronger. Maybe even strong enough to beat the player.
The cave woman stops eating and looks over at you with an aggressive glare.
So anyways, let's forget I brought up the player. My name is Zossie. Zossie. What's your name?
The Neanderthal looks confused for a second, but eventually gets the idea and points to herself.
Me, Hildegard. Friends gone.
Zossie's face goes from happy to sad in a matter of seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Hildegard. You know, even though I've only known you for a little while, I like to think that we're friends too, though. Here, I made you a little friendship bracelet as a gift. Hopefully it's enough to make you happy.
Zossie puts a friendship bracelet that looks remarkably similar to yours on Hildegard's wrist, and Hildegard is confused for a moment and then very happy. She gives a broad smile, showing off all of her spiky, horrifying teeth, and gives Zossie a back-breaking hug that even a Beware would be scared of.
Friend! Friend!
Yeah, we're friends now, Hildegard. Please, I'm losing air. It's getting dark.
Hildegard roughly puts Zossie down and runs over to the pile of junk she has and pulls out the Ultra Recall system. She shoves it into your hands and then goes back to Zossie to give her another hug.
Please no! I mean, let me set this up really quick, Hildegard, and then we can do more friendship things like maybe not hugging.
Hildegard is still elated and starts howling and breaking things out of joy. Zossie walks over to you and the recall system and says that to activate it, you just need to put it on the ground and press the button. You do just that, and a small ultra wormhole breaks through the air and illuminates the cave. Now at this point in the game, this cavern becomes something of a home base for you in this dimension. You can use this cave to rest and heal your Pokemon, you can travel back to the Megalopolis anytime you want, and there's also a small element of customization here where you can give Hildegard different items you find in this primitive world that she'll then use to customize the cave. Once you've gotten settled, you and Zossie leave the cave to get back to your mission. She hands you a shoddily drawn map of the area, which apparently Hildegard made, and you scan it into your Ultra Gear. A map of the area is revealed to you, and as you might have guessed, you're in a prehistoric version of Unova. You're only able to find Gen 5 Pokemon in this dimension, and there's also a couple primitive versions of official Unova characters you can encounter as well. You and Zossie split up to find the Ultra Beast and you travel west. You journey through a somewhat lengthy route, which requires you to wade through a shallow river with a ton of basculin, and you eventually arrive in a small campground. Aside from buying things, you can hang around the camp and interact with all the primal people, but they mostly communicate like Hildegard does, with a lot of aggressive yelling and grunting. One interesting thing you do find out, however, is that a lot of people have gone up north to see bzz bzz. You have no idea what that means, but that's your closest lead to finding the UBs, so you leave the village and head north into the mountains. As you're traveling up the mountains, capturing and battling wild Pokemon, you'll eventually come across a large rock blocking your path. You don't see any way to go around it, and as you're pondering what to do, Hildegard jumps out of nowhere and headbutts the rock, breaking it into pieces. Hildegard looks very smug with herself, and though the two of you are on somewhat rocky terms, she glances vapidly over at you and starts to growl and grunt. You don't quite understand what she's trying to say until she grumbles,
Zoo, Z, Friend. You. Friend.
Hildgar reaches into her untamed mane and grabs a Minccino and then throws it at you. It lands on your shoulder and Hildgar lets out a feral howl as she sprints away. Now, if you're confused as to what the heck just happened, I don't blame you, so let me break it all down. Hildgar has finally come to think of you as her friend and is letting you borrow her Minccino, which is basically your ride Pokemon in this dimension. While you don't technically ride it, it's actually on your shoulder, this Minccino is as strong as Hildgar is, and you can use its special ability to destroy rocks blocking your path, and it'll help you traverse the rugged terrain of Primal Univa's mountains. You continue working your way up the mountain using Minccino to clear a pathway, and you soon make it to a big open space beneath a towering cliff. A large amount of cave people are in the clearing, and all of them seem to be bowing down to two looming figures atop the nearby mountain. One of the figures is constantly flexing, while the other is glaring down haughtily. As you're looking at the scene, Zacian runs up behind you and loudly exclaims,
Those creatures up there are the Ultra Beasts we're looking for. The buff bug is known as Buzzswole, while the other one is called Pheromosa. We should find a way up there to go and capture them and take them back to their own dimension.
All the cave people turn to look at you and Zacian, and it's clear that they aren't happy with your interruption. A group of them starts to yell and bare their teeth, and soon a small group of angry Neanderthals has surrounded you. You battle a few of them, all of which use various Univa Pokemon on their team, and after you and Zacian have beaten them, a rather large caveman jumps down from the cliff in front of you. This is the chieftain of the tribe, and you've made him so unhappy that he has no choice but to battle you. When facing off against the chieftain, he uses a Larvesta, Bouffalant, Dredagon, and Vanillux, although there is one other thing you'll have to battle. The chieftain himself. That's right, in a shocking twist, your Pokemon will actually go up in combat against this prehistoric human. Hopefully this isn't taking the idea too far, but in this primal dimension, the humans are tough enough that you could almost classify them as Pokemon. As far as the actual combat against him goes, he counts as a normal fighting type and uses moves like Bite, Mach Punch, and even Seismic Toss. After a lot of hard work, you and your Pokemon defeat the chieftain and he gets knocked backwards. He looks pretty angry still, but he lets out a loud, thunderous grunt, and all the cave people attacking you and Zacian stop fighting and stand down. Zacian starts to congratulate you on yet another win when suddenly the two Ultra Beasts atop the cliff leap down in front of you. They're both way bigger than the chieftain, and Zacian says that you should team up together to take them down. The battle music starts blaring, and each of you calls out your Pokemon to have a double battle against the Ultra Beasts. You have an intense battle against Buzzswole and Pheromosa, but you and Zacian eventually prevail and defeat the interdimensional creatures. You both throw an Ultra Recon Ball at them, and they're captured instantly and get teleported back to the Megalopolis.
Mission complete!
Zacian and her Alolan Diglett jump up and down in happiness and give you a high five.
Yay! Nice work, Diglett! You too, player!
Now, as far as any additional activities you can do in this dimension goes, there's a couple new routes you can find located here and here. You can visit a small lake area where there's a lot of psychic types you can capture, and you can find another small caveman camp where you can have a rematch against the chieftain. After you're done exploring this primal world, you return to Hildgar's home to access the portal. There's a somewhat tearful goodbye between Zacian and Hildgar, and it seems the two of them have formed a very close bond and become BFFs. Zacian says that she'll come back and visit often, and Hildgar gives her another back-breaking hug. On that sad but uplifting note, you and Zacian leave Primal Univa behind and return to the Megalopolis. You get to do various side quests and activities throughout the town until you're once more called away to deal with an Ultra Beast. This time when you go to the Dimensional Gateway, Fico is there. No, I won't be going with you, player. I'm here to congratulate you that you've now earned the right to do solo missions. After reading Zacian's report on how you handled that primal dimension, I'd say that you've more than proven your skill in Pokemon battling and being a member of the squad. Anyways, congratulations, and you can now embark to new dimensions without any squad members accompanying you. Fico walks over to the control panel and presses a button, making a portal to a new world open in front of you. You bid him farewell and step through the Ultra Wormhole to track down whatever powerful Ultra Beast will be awaiting you. Dimensions swirl around you, a light flashes, and you open your eyes to see that you've arrived in a new dimension. You're on top of a large balcony attached to a futuristic-looking building, and you have a great view of of the surrounding city and grasslands that lay beyond it. You walk towards a nearby door to see if you can get down from here, and right before you reach it, it slides open and a smiling blue-haired man is on the other side.
Ah, right on time. My name is Cyrus, and I'm the founder and chairman of Galactic Corporation, which is the building we're currently on. If you please follow me, I'll give you a tour of it and explain everything further.
You're a little confused at all the information that's just been thrown at you, and Cyrus gives a hearty laugh as he motions for you to follow him. Unsure, but still needing to get down from the skyscraper, you cautiously let the man lead you into the building. You walk through countless labs, research areas, and testing facilities, all while Cyrus talks to you.
I know all about the Ultra Recon Squad and the existence of different dimensions. My scientists and I cracked the code to interdimensional travel years ago, and though you may not know it, we've met with you. Or at least a parallel version of you a few years ago.
You give a quizzical look to Cyrus and he gives a lighthearted chuckle.
I know it can be a little much. Trust me. Years ago I wanted to see what other versions of myself are like, and if you can believe it, they're all villains. None of them had committed to the pursuit of science and creation like I did, and so rather than starting something like the Galactic Corporation to excel Sinnoh region into the future with innovation, most of me's out there formed an evil group called Team Galactic. After I saw that 99% of my parallel doppelgangers were villains, that was when I decided I had quite enough of traveling to other worlds.
Cyrus continues showing you around the Galactic Corporation until you reach the lobby. He taps on the tablet he's carrying for a moment, and your Ultra Gear suddenly alerts you that you've received a new map.
Let's get down to business, shall we? I know you're here to deal with the Ultra Beast that has fallen into this dimension. The map of the region I just sent you shows the location of the monster, so please go there and deal with it. It's been rampaging throughout Hearthome City, and though we've quarantined it there, I'm afraid we can't keep it at bay much longer.
You nod in understanding, and Cyrus gives his thanks for helping this dimension. At this point, you basically have free control to get to Hearthome City however you want. Most of Sinnoh has been sectioned off to keep it safe from the Ultra Beasts, but you'll still have access to the futuristic Eterna City, Mount Coronet, Celestic Town, Hearthome City, and all the routes in between. Now, as you're making your way to Hearthome City, allow me to give a little more detail on this dimension. Basically, this is a world where Cyrus never went evil. In the original Gen 4 games, it said that Cyrus's grandparents didn't come to his aid when he needed help the most, which is why he went down a dark path and became a villain. In this dimension, Cyrus's grandparents were there for him, and thus his feelings never escalated to the point of being a total bad guy. This version of Cyrus became one of the leading innovators for Sinnoh, and with his prowess for technology, he propelled the region into an idyllic futuristic society. You arrive in Hearthome City after a lengthy journey, and right when you enter town, you hear many explosions coming from the far side. As you walk towards them, you go deeper and deeper into a large industrial complex type area. You reach an arena-like building, and before you enter it, a scientist rushes over to you to inquire if you're the one that Cyrus sent to deal with the creature. You say that you are, and he hands you a Pokeball. He says that they've trapped the UB inside this electrical power plant, and in order to reach it, you'll have to ride on the Luxray inside the Pokeball he just gave you, in order to not get shocked by all the electrical currents everywhere. You call out the Luxray, which is your ride Pokemon in this dimension, and you ride it into the electrifying maze. When you've successfully navigated the mini labyrinth, you'll walk into a medium-sized circular room where a lot of equipment and walls have been slashed and cut to pieces. You look around for the UB that must have done this, and all you see is a piece of paper. Or is it? The piece of paper starts to shake and rattle as it folds over itself. Eventually, it's been folded into an origami-looking creature that is hovering in the air. This is no paper swan, but instead is UB Blade Kartana. It's able to call Magneton that are in the area to its aid, but that isn't enough to save it from its inevitable fate, and you knock it out and capture it with an Ultra Recon Ball.
Mission complete!
With Kartana now dealt with, the electricity surging through the maze stops, and Cyrus walks in joyfully.
You've done it! Thank you, Ultra Recon Squad member. With the power plant now safe, we can get back to powering Hearthome City and furthering our scientific development. Speaking of which, take this special Pokeball we at Galactic Corporation created. I'm told that there are millions of these in the multiverse, but hopefully nobody's given one to you yet.
Cyrus hands you a Master Ball and thanks you once again for all your help. Now that you've defeated the rampant Kartana, you can go visit Cyrus at his office in the Galactic Corporation. He's very nice and accommodating, as he always is, and says that if you want to, you can sit in on some of his business meetings. I know this probably sounds like one of the most boring things ever, but the clients he talks with are rather interesting, and at the end of each meeting, you get an exclusive item from another region you can't get anywhere else in the game. Alright, when you've had enough of exploring this parallel Sinnoh, you return to the portal and warp back to the Megalopolis. Same thing as before, you get to do numerous side quests for a while until you eventually get the sweet alert from your Ultra Gear that means you get to go to a new world. You show up at the Dimensional Gateway and are surprised when almost all of the Ultra Recon Squad members are there. Your mom, Zassi, Dulce, and Soliera are standing by a new Ultra wormhole that's been generated, but they all look rather worried.
I'm afraid I have bad news, player. FICO went on a solo mission to Dimension R0K-3TO, but hasn't returned yet. It's been a few days now, and we are worried something has happened to him.
I mean, he's kinda old, so it normally takes him a little longer to do missions, but it's not like him to be gone this long. We were hoping you would go into the dimension and find him and see if he's alright.
Normally, one of us would have gone, but many other UBs are invading numerous worlds right now, so our focus is split. We'll deal with the other UBs, and we leave finding FICO and the UB he was tracking to you.
You nod in understanding, and with all the Ultra Recon Squad relying on you now, you leap into the portal to find FICO. You warp through the dimensions until you land on a rather dismal-looking dock. You see a town nearby and start working your way towards it. You make it to the village and find that it's a very run-down and depressing little town by the sea. Half the buildings are boarded up, and the other half are small shacks that are falling apart right before your eyes. In the distance, you see a bright metropolis that has a large tower with a giant red R looming over everything. You have a look around this decaying town and find out that it's called Vermilion City. You ask people if they've seen a mustachioed man dressed in strange clothing, but people either haven't seen him or don't want to talk to you. You search around the town a while longer, going into a rather unsanitary Pokemon Center and ravaged Pokemart, but with no leads on where FICO is, you decide to head north towards the large city in the distance. You go through a small route filled with garbage and junk until you run into a massive steel gate separating you from the loud, bright city on the other side. A guard is out front and asks to see your pass to enter Saffron City. When you say you don't have one, he shoves you back and says to get out of his face and stop wasting Team Rocket's time. With no other way to get past the gate, you start heading back to Vermilion, and as you're walking, a weary-looking man sitting by the road calls you over. He coughs and introduces himself as the chairman for the Pokemon fan club. He says that he saw an older guy with a mustache being arrested by Team Rocket and taken into Saffron City, and that if you're trying to get in, you're gonna need a key card. He's but an old, dying man, so he's not sure where to get one, but says that Team Rocket's tower in Lavender Town could possibly have a few lying around that you could borrow. You thank the man for the info and set course for Lavender Town. Now, as far as the wild Pokemon you'll encounter here goes, you'll see a lot of Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon scattered around the routes. There's a very heavy emphasis on Poison, Dark, and Ghost types, although you'll still see things like Raticate, Rhydon, and Kangaskhan in the dismal areas of the region. Okay, getting back to the story, after a long journey through somewhat depressing roads filled with pollution, garbage, and roughnecks looking to tussle, you eventually arrive in Lavender Town. It's basically the polar opposite of how it used to be, and the Pokemon Tower has been converted into a large Team Rocket building, while the rest of the town has become rather loud and abrasive. You enter the Lavender Team Rocket Tower and find that the inside is basically a den of debauchery. No more is the building filled with Pokemon's graves and people paying their respects, and instead the tower has been turned into a multi-floor casino and game corner with many degenerate activities happening everywhere. You try to enter the upper floors to look for a key card, but you're stopped by a couple Team Rocket grunts. They say that unless you're a high roller, all the pipsqueaks are supposed to stay on the ground floor. They have no idea who they're messing with, and you proceed to engage them in a Pokemon battle. On their teams, and this goes for all the Team Rocket grunts you'll be facing, they use the Pokemon you'd expect. Raticate, Golbat, Muck, Murkrow, and a lot of other normal Poison and Dark-type Pokemon. You defeat the two grunts who are absolutely stunned that someone would stand up to Team Rocket, and you proceed to go up each floor of the tower battling more and more Rocket members until you reach the top level. You walk into a fancy-looking control room that has a lot of high-tech equipment, and you see a blue-haired man sitting in a large chair. He glances at you, unimpressed, and slowly gets up to meet you.
So you're the pest who thinks they can take down Team Rocket, eh? Please. I don't know where you're from, but in Kanto, Team Rocket is law. We control everything and everyone. And though I, Archer, am but a cog in Team Rocket's grand machine, I'm still more than capable of dealing with a brat like you.
Archer casually throws out his Pokemon, and you also call out yours to meet him in battle. On Archer's team, he has a Houndoom, Weezing, Muck, Honchkrow, and Golbat. And though he may be an important admin in this universe, he stands no chance against you and your Pokemon. When he loses, he becomes incredibly flustered. Archer quickly runs out of the room, and in his haste doesn't notice that he accidentally dropped a keycard. A Saffron City keycard to be exact. You pick up the key, and now that you have a way to enter Saffron City, you leave Lavender Town behind and do just that. Saffron City is, well, it's basically like how Lavender Town was, but cranked up to 11. It's got a heavy Las Vegas vibe to it, and the city is painted in neon lights, gaudy decorations, and despicable activities happening everywhere. You work your way through the garish town until you wind up in front of a large building. In other worlds, this would be the Silphco building, but in this dimension, it's actually Team Rocket's main headquarters. You assume that Fyco is most likely being kept somewhere inside the building, and you go in to rescue him. At this point, you get to freely explore the Rocket headquarters, which has a confusing warp panel-related puzzle, and you also battle a lot of Team Rocket grunts and scientists along the way. As you're going through the maze-like building, there will be a point where you get warped to a dark room in the basement. All around you are rare and powerful Pokemon being kept in cages, and this is one of the places where Team Rocket detains Pokemon before they get sold off in black market auctions. It's an incredibly depressing scene as you walk through cages upon cages of sad Pokemon, but thankfully there is a light at the end of this metaphorical tunnel, and you stumble upon Fyco locked up in a cage. Oh, thank goodness you're here! I was beginning to think I was in serious trouble, but you've come to rescue me. There's a button over there that will open all our cages. You walk over and press the button, and instantly all the cages in the room open. The Pokemon are overjoyed and stampede through a wall to go upstairs and wreak havoc, and Fyco hobbles over to talk to you. He thanks you for saving him and briefly explains what happened. Right when I warped to this dimension to find a rogue UB, I was confronted by those terrible Team Rocket thugs. They brought me to their leader, a man by the name of Giovanni, and though I didn't tell him anything, he still found a way to access my Ultra Gear and learn about the Ultra Beast I came to dispose of. The last I heard before they threw me down here was that he planned to capture the UB for his own use, which could have catastrophic consequences. Fyco says that your mission now is to find Giovanni and put a stop to his plans with the Ultra Beast. Fyco wishes he could help you, but Team Rocket roughed him up pretty badly, so he's going to return to the Megalopolis and heal. He bids you farewell and hobbles out of the room, and with a new task of finding and defeating Giovanni and the UB he's captured, you also leave the basement. You battle many more grunts as you continue traversing various rooms of Team Rocket's headquarters, including another casino area in addition to numerous labs devoted to sinister science, and after solving the warp tile maze, you reach the top floor penthouse. Only the finest materials make up this elegant multi-roomed area, and when you enter it, you see a few people hide in fear while Giovanni is waiting for you in the middle of a grand lobby.
You know, you remind me of a trainer I faced long ago. I ended up defeating them and all the others who came to fight me, but I've always remembered their face. Their determination and willpower dissolving into fear and begging as I crushed their Pokemon. As someone from another world, I'm sure you've fought all kinds of trainers, but I doubt there's anyone you've battled quite like me. I've never known defeat, and now that I have an Ultra Beast under my control, Team Rocket shall extend their reach to regions and worlds beyond Kanto!
The lights dim. The battle music plays, and your duel against Team Rocket leader Giovanni begins. For all intents and purposes, this is supposed to be like the final boss of the game, so all of Giovanni's Pokemon would be at levels similar to a Pokemon Champion's. On his team, he would have a Dugtrio, Nidoking, Nidoqueen, Rhyperior, Kangaskhan, and the Ultra Beast Guzzlord. It's a hard battle, but in the end, you stand triumphant. Giovanni's smirk turns into a frown, and while he's not super aggravated, you can tell that his defeat has given him a lot to think about.
So trainers in other worlds are as strong as I am, maybe even stronger? Regardless, though, it doesn't matter. If you think beating me here today is going to change anything in this world, then you're foolish. Everything belongs to Team Rocket, and though you've beaten me here today, I still control Kanto and haven't been convinced of anything. I suppose if there's one thing I've learned, it's that Ultra Beasts are weak. So here, you can have this pathetic creature. It's clearly not the powerful monster I thought it would be.
Giovanni tosses you the Pokeball containing Guzzlord, and your Ultra Recon Squad ball absorbs it and teleports back to the Megalopolis. With Giovanni now defeated, you leave his penthouse, and though he said that he won, you can see the conflict and worry on his face as you leave his home and the door closes shut.
Mission complete!
And that's the main story of my dream Pokemon game. Now, before I do an overall wrap-up of this video, I wanted to briefly go over all the post-game ideas that would be present in this hypothetical game. Everything I'm about to talk about is stuff you would get to do after defeating Giovanni, and even though there isn't a ton of stuff here, I still wanted to share a few ideas I had for extra activities you can do once beating the main story. Alright, the main thing you get to do is that you can revisit each dimension you've already been to and do multiple new things. There's a catchable legendary you can find in each world, and there's also a special post-game trainer you can battle as well. I'm gonna go through this stuff kinda quickly because there's a lot here, so bear with me and let's take a look. So in the Ultra Megalopolis, the special post-game battle would be against your mother, who would use a Naganadel, Komo-o, Kling-Kling, Talonflame, Bronzong, and Dusknoir, and the legendary you could encounter and capture is a Necrozma that fell into the Ultra Outlands. In the Flooded Hoenn dimension, you can battle a full-powered Wally in Victory Road, and he uses a Gallade, Gardevoir, Altaria, Magnezone, Camerupt, and Roserade. The legendary you can capture in this dimension is a Rayquaza at Sky Pillar that you get directed to by Lisa. The Under Siege Kalos world has a very special post-game battle against this dimension's version of Sigurd. You meet him near Parfum Palace, and he says that his troops returned to him scared and battle-worn, and he wanted to see the strength of the trainer that defeated them. You battle him, and he uses a Mamoswine, the Stantler regional variant from my Scandinavia region, a Mawile, Alolan Ninetales, Abomasnow, and Lapras. Once beaten, he commends you for your conviction to your beliefs, and says that were he to have met you years prior, he might have walked a different path. The legendary you can capture in this dimension is a Zygarde in the Lumiose Canal. In the Primal Universe reality, you can return to the area you fought Buzzswole and Pheromosa at and find a caveman version of N hanging around the area. On his team, he has a Zoroark, Caracosta, Archeops, Reshiram, and Zekrom. The legendary you can capture in this prehistoric realm is a Kyurem found in the Giant Chasm. In the futuristic Sinnoh dimension, the special trainer battle and legendary you can capture are very much intertwined. When you return to the realm, good guy Cyrus asks you to investigate Spear Pillar as he's been reading some strange energy signals coming from the area. You go to see what's happening and find a strange looking portal that takes you to the Distortion world. While you're adventuring through this distorted world, you encounter a parallel version of Cyrus that, as you might have guessed, is a bad guy. He battles you, and on his team he has a Houndoom, Honchkrow, Crobat, Gyarados, and Weavile. After you've beaten him, he fades into the darkness of the Distortion world, mumbling about how he keeps being defeated by children, and a Giratina then emerges that you can battle. Last but not least, we have the Rocket Takeover dimension where you can access a new area, the Viridian City Rocket Tower, and battle an adamant admin who is upset that you made Giovanni disappear. She uses a Clefable, Kangaskhan, Gengar, Blastoise, Victreebel, and Mewtwo. The legendary you can capture in this world is a different Mewtwo that's hidden in the tower's secret basement, where you find that many cloning experiments have been conducted. Alright, that's all the special post-game trainers and legendaries you can confront. And really quickly, I wanted to switch gears and talk about a couple additional post-game events that happen in the Ultra Megalopolis. The first thing I have to mention is that you can take part in a special quest where you help Zacie prepare for her very first solo mission. After training up the entire game, Zacie is finally ready for her big solo mission debut, and she needs your help in gathering a couple supplies spread out around the Megalopolis and the Ultra Outlands. After you help her, there's a very big tearful goodbye where the whole Ultra Recon squad gathers around and cheers Zacie on as she departs on her very first solo quest. Nope, I'm not crying, I just have some Ultra Dust in my eye. The final thing you can do in the post-game Megalopolis is go to a building I mentioned earlier, the Battle Simulation Arena. This is basically the battle tower equivalent for the game, and you try to win battles against various trainers to earn points which you can then trade in for different items. And that's my dream Pokemon game. I know this is such a crazy idea, and I probably lost half of you guys when I brought up different dimensions, but what can I say? I love alternate realities and universes and parallel worlds, and the Pokemon game I pitched to you guys today is literally what I would make if I had the power to do so. Anyways, what do you guys think? Would you want to play through my dream Pokemon game? Which one of these dimensions was your favorite? Let me know what you guys think of my game idea, and feel free to leave any thoughts and comments below, including your own dream Pokemon games. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.
Fico, why aren't you in the Ultra Hospital? Your wounds were rather serious when you returned from Dimension R0K-3TO.
Now, Dulce, I may be old, but my bones are like, well, not exactly titanium, but they aren't frail either. Regardless of my injuries, I still wanted to be here for Zossie's return. She's been working so hard to get to this point, and I'm incredibly proud of her.
Yes, as am I. Do you ever worry about her, Fico? I know she has a Diglett with her, but I'm still worried. I don't want her to get hurt.
You know, back when you and Soliera were going on your first solo missions, I had similar feelings regarding you too.
What?
It's true! Turns out it was all fine in the end, but I know the feeling you're going through, Dulce. Delegating responsibility and trusting your team is one of the hardest parts of being a leader, Dulce. But you are learning it fast. I think it's time we talk about the possibility of advancing your rank.
What are you saying, Fico?
Well, I'm not going to be around forever, and you've certainly shown your prowess with the group. I think you would be a good fit as the new captain for the Ultra Recon Squad.
Fico!
I'm sorry, my boy. I sprung that on you out of nowhere. Let's talk more later, shall we? It looks like Zossie is finally on her way back.
Thank you, Fico. I'm going to need some time to process this.
Welcome back, Zossie! Congrats on completing your first solo mission!
Zossie? Why are you dressed like that? What happened on your mission?
Oh, Dulcie Wulcie! I had such a swell time and made so many friends. Diglett and I got such a darling makeover. Don't you like it?
It's,
Oh, darling, you're speechless. I knew you'd love it. I can't wait to show you and Mr. Fico my new friends. I've told them so much about you, and they're very much looking forward to meeting you.